Hello viewers, welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel, and today I have a 2015 Toyota Sienna, and it has the 3.5 liter V6 2GR FE engine, and today we are going to be replacing the radiator because it's leaking at the seams. As you can see here, there's coolant that's leaking at the seams all across. So we are going to be replacing it today. So right now we are just going to be removing all the plastic clips so we can gain access to the top of the radiator here. Remove all of the plastic retainer clips. So the grill, it just comes off now. It comes off those tabs. So we're going to remove the top bolts here for the air box. Just want to be careful with these bolts because they often break. So I like to do them by hand first, because if you use an impact driver or something, they may break. Remove the evap lines out of the way here. This box, if you tilt it out and then it comes out. So right now we are just going to use like a marker to draw an outline here, so we can put the hood latch back to where it was. So because we need to get the hood latch out of the way to get this piece off. These bolts are 10 millimeters, by the way. I'm just gonna disconnect the electrical connection here. So now we're gonna remove the bolts holding this bracket in place. And the same on the other side. You need to lift up the top support so that the radiator is no longer uh, rested on this bracket. I don't want to remove everything completely out of the way because you're just causing more work for yourself. Just need to get this off of the rubber grommets of the radiator. So now when we are going to access the drain valve or the petcock valve to drain the radiator. Make sure that you remove the pressure cap first to relieve the system pressure. You can just use your hand to open it. So there is a bolt that's hiding here that's holding the coolant reservoir in place. So we are going to take that off. You should be able to take it out like that, and then at the very bottom there is a clamp here if you want to drain it out. But we are going to leave that connected, and we're just gonna take off the hose that's at the T connection of the and where the radiator cap is, the neck. So we're gonna take this out. Now, if you're not smart like me, you could have drained this out first. But now it's making a mess as I'm holding it. I have a drain pan under there already. So now we're going to remove the upper radiator hose and clamp. You may be able to reuse these clamps if the tension is still good on them. Otherwise, you would have to replace them. The customer requested that they wanted new hoses, so we are not going to be using these hoses. So we're going to use this tool here to get onto the hose. Need to wiggle back and forth. To get it out. We're just going to leave it here for now. We're gonna replace the hose later, and we probably have to remove the oxygen sensor harness out of the way. We could do that now, actually. Just insert like a flathead screwdriver or something, or a tool like this to get inside here to open these up. This one's broken. The harness is free now for the air fuel sensor, oxygen sensor. I'm gonna remove the clamp here, the back. To use this tool to get it out. Some coolant may come out of the block. There's nothing there. So now we have to remove the lower radiator hose. I won't be able to show you on camera. And then we have our transmission cooler lines that needs to be removed also. So now I got the bottom part off. Now we are going to do the top part here. So I'm removing the top clamp here now. Get this out of the way. Just twist the hose. I should be able to remove this. Remove this. So now both parts are out. At the bottom, I remove the clamp here. So now we just need to remove the electrical connections. You may need a strong thumb to push here. Otherwise, you would have to use something to get this out. Get that out of the way. And then there are the connectors at the bottom here for the module. So now I'm almost done taking the radiator out. I just need to disconnect the transmission cooler lines. I won't be able to show that on camera, but I will show that after I'm done. When I'm underneath the vehicle, I can give you guys a better view of that. So there's a bolt that's holding the AC condenser in place for these two brackets here, and those have to come off. There's the bracket on the one side. You need to separate the condenser and the radiator from here. It's sitting on some grommets here. Need to get this out of the way. So if you look down here, you need to separate the rubber grommets from the radiator and the AC condenser. So I put my hand down here to reach, and you can see that there's a hole here in which the grommet seats in. So there's a hole there for the AC condenser that sits with the radiator grommets at the bottom. So now we are ready to pull the radiator out. But you need to do it carefully so you don't damage anything. So what I think I need to do is there's a bolt at the bottom here that's holding the brackets. I'm going to take them off here because it's not allowing me to take the radiator out because that piece is connected. The black piece to hold the grommets are connected to the radiator. There's not enough room to take it out. I'm just going to remove the bolts at the bottom here. And then I'm going to do the same for the other side. So now this radiator should just come out now without any issues. This piece should come out. It slides right out. Now I should be able to get the radiator out now. So as I said earlier, these are the lines for the transmission cooler lines. It looks like that this vehicle may have been involved in a front end collision or something, but I heard from the owner that this vehicle it fell in the ditch or something from the history before he purchased this vehicle. So this I can see that the clamps have been replaced with the fuel style clamps. These clamps are for high pressure. So usually the transmission can go as much as maybe 80 or 100 psi pressure. And the same for this line here. So this is the AC condenser. It's by itself now. So the cooler lines are connected to the I believe this is the brass tubing here in the radiator. There's a separate section in the radiator that cools the transmission fluid. So now we just need to transfer the components over to the new radiator. So this is the new radiator here. Just make sure that all the fittings and everything are the same. So we are just going to remove the cooling fans and everything, and then transfer it over to the other one. And we need to pinch the plastics here, so you're able to get the cooling fans off. Well, this one broke, unfortunately. Need to pinch the plastic here to get this off. Looks like I unintentionally broke this piece, but I don't think it's the end of the world here. Just leave that in for now. So we're gonna take this out, slide this off, and just transfer it over to the new one. Transfer this over to the new one here. Should see in here, and we're gonna put in the bolts. Going to install the bolts. The bolts don't need to be extremely tight, just need to get them down snug, and then you're good. So these electrical connectors, I don't think you're able to get them mixed up because they look different. So they only go on one way. You don't need to disconnect the electrical connectors for these two. You only needed to disconnect the top only. Because these ones, they're staying on here. So we're gonna remove all the stuff here, grommet pieces and stuff out of the way. We're gonna reinstall the grommets back. I like to spray some like silicone or something so that it's easier to put in. This goes at the bottom here. And do the same for the top. So now we are ready to install the new radiator. So we're going to reinstall this bracket back for the AC condenser. It just connects to the bottom of the radiator, and then it bolts on. So I'm just going to use the old radiator as an example here. There's a bracket that goes in here. Should go in like this, and the bolt goes at the bottom. The AC condenser, the grommets are going to sit inside the hole here once this is bolted on, and the same for the other side. And we're just going to install this now. We're going to do the same for the other side. So make sure that the grommets are sitting on both of the radiator at the bottom here and on the AC condenser. Make sure that they are lined up. The grommet is here inside the hole over here. So now we're just going to install the top brackets for the AC condenser. Just the one bolt that goes in. This goes in between the condenser. So now I got the bracket in. It's sitting inside the condenser area. I had to use a new bolt and a washer for this one because the threads were gone on the old bolt. So now I got the lower radiator hose on and the transmission cooler lines at the bottom. So now we are going to put the bracket and everything back. it would be helpful to lubricate the bolts with some sort of grease or rust inhibitor spray like fluid film or WD-40. It would make it easier for the bolts to go in and it won't get seized up in the future. Typically, I like to start these bolts by hand first so I don't strip out the threads. I'll spray some of the fluid film stuff here for the airbox bolts. And then we are going to tighten up the hood latch next. I'm going to install the hood latch bolt. Make sure you place it in the same position that you had it before. That's why I made some marks before I removed it. I just need to tighten it up. We install the electrical connector. There's the electrical connector that we had here for the radiator fan module. So reconnect it. And once again, you do not need to disconnect these two gray connectors. They are part of the radiator fan assembly itself. So there's no need to disconnect those two. So we're just gonna reinstall the plastic clips that hold the harness in place onto the cooling fan plastic shroud here. Now we have our lower radiator hose. Sometimes on these aftermarket hoses you may need to cut them off a bit because they are a little too big. So we are going to install the hose here now. It's a good idea to dip the hoses in coolant to make it easier to slide onto the connections for the radiator and inside the block, so it's easier. So that's all done. We're gonna connect the clamps for the O2 or air fuel sensor harness here. I'm just gonna add a zip tie here because this one broke earlier. So I'm just gonna install a zip tie replacement here. So we're gonna reinstall the air box back. To reroute the evap lines here, I think, for the intake. I'm gonna reinstall the two bolts. We're going to reinstall the coolant reservoir back. Ideally, you should install this first before you put the air box in. There's the bolt for the reservoir tank, and there's a grommet in here. This it seats in there, and then you need to route the hose here. And last but not least, we are going to reinstall the grill back. It should line up at the bottom and sit in. Reinstall all of the clips. So now the job is all done. I'm just going to fill it up with coolant now. The one thing that you need to do is to open up the bleeder here for the one that's on the block, because before you fill up the coolant, you need to open this up to get rid of the air in the system. This bleeder takes a 10 millimeter socket, So we just need to open it up carefully. Open it up pretty much almost all the way. Now I know that the car care nut channel, Ahmed, the Toyota technician. I remember seeing one of his videos, and he hooked up a quarter-inch hose and connected it to the funnel of the coolant, and he left it open for some time while the engine is running until all the air is out. You don't necessarily have to do that. That way is the better way because you can get rid of the air faster than this way. This way, I just like these bleeders, I just like to open them and then I fill the cooling system up until coolant comes out of here, and then I close it up after that. After you close it up, you don't need to worry about it after that. So I'm going to fill this up with the Toyota Super Long Life coolant. You need to fill up the system slowly. It is going to make a little bit of a mess. There's not much that you can do. So you're just gonna keep on filling it up until you see coolant coming out of the bleeder. So keep on filling up the coolant until you see coolant come out of the bleeder screw. You can see there's coolant coming up. So you gotta wait until a steady stream of coolant comes out. So now you want to close the bleeder now after the coolant has came out. A steady stream of coolant until there's no more air in the system. I believe the torque spec is 9 foot-pounds. I'm gonna put the torque spec on the screen. I'm just going to open it up again just to be sure. Doesn't need to be tighten up too much. So I'm just going to wash the area down before I start the engine up. Just to get rid of the coolant that's been spilled. So now I'm just going to start the engine and let it run for maybe 10 to 15 minutes at idle, and then we are going to increase the RPM to about 2000, and then we are going to bleed the cooling system from there. So now I'm just idling the engine. So we're gonna wait about 15 minutes, and then we are going to increase the RPM to 2000 and continue the bleeding procedure. So we're gonna put the heater on high. I know it's very hot today, but still, we need to turn the heat on in order to bleed the coolant. Put it on full blast in the rear as well. To make sure everything is on full blast and on high. And meanwhile, we are going to watch the coolant temperature gauge and just make sure everything is okay and that the engine does not overheat during the bleeding procedure. So after about 10 to 15 minutes, you can start to increase the RPM to about 2000. Roughly between 1500 and 2000, and you'll be able to watch the coolant at the same time and make sure that the engine is not overheating as you are doing this. So keep holding it at 2000 and until the cooling fans come on and off at least twice, and then you should be okay after that. And also make sure that you are getting full heat from the vents as well, because if you're not getting heat and then there is something wrong and there's air trapped in the system somewhere. So always make sure you're keeping an eye on the vents, that there's heat coming out, and make sure that the engine is not overheating. I fill the coolant up a bit too much. Usually should be about halfway here. You probably also want to squeeze the hoses, the upper and the lower, so that you can push the coolant through to get all the air bubbles out. Usually I like to push on the hoses every once in a while to push the air out and to get the fluid to circulate. Now you can see that the cooling fans have came on now. You want to wait until they go off and then come back on again, and then you should be all good to go. So just make sure the cooling fans, they come on and then they go off and come back on. They should come on at least twice, and then as long as you are getting heat and the heat is strong and the engine is not overheating, then you should be all good to go. Usually probably shouldn't take no longer than maybe half an hour or so, 30 to 45 minutes to bleed the cooling system properly and to purge all of the air out. So we're going to take the coolant from here. I'm going to squeeze the radiator hose. Insert the stopper. I'm going to add the coolant in here. Install the radiator cap. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day. and take care.